Alrighty, fellas, we are back. We got some more Fire Emblem heroes lined up for you. I went to bed last night. Your boy was done, right? After I did the Arcane Euphoria video, I was just like passed out. So we're going to go ahead and do this video now on Fuga. So he's going to be our Tempest Trial prize unit from the Wind banner. And we should be getting him tomorrow. I'm pretty sure tomorrow the banner is going to drop and the Tempest Trial at the same time. So Fuga will be available for us to get tomorrow. Now, is this guy actually going to be worthy of a merge project? Is he worth the heroic grails? Is he worth the investment? Let's go ahead and find that out today. So starting things off with our stats for Fuga, he's got 42 HP. He's got 46 attack, he's got 30 speed, he's got 45 defense, and he's got 30 res. This gives him an overall BST of 193, which is about in line with what's going on now post Choose Your Legend 7. He does have one super boon, which is in defense, so if you're going to go for a boon on him, you definitely want to go for plus defense. It's going to raise his bulk by quite a bit. Now we can go ahead and also take a look at his base kit. So he has this brand new weapon called Wind Tribe Club, which we're going to take a look at in just a sec. He also comes with Bonfire as his special. He's got Heavy Blade 3, and then he's got Threaten, Attack, and Defense 2. Threaten comes at 4-star on him, so if you wanted to pick up Attack and Defense Menace, that would just make this a whole lot easier. So he is good fodder for that at least. Heavy Blade 3, though, I mean, our Heavy Blade 4 is already not even in contention anymore for being a good ace skill, so there's no telling what might happen in the future. Maybe we'll get a Swift or a Flash Sparrow version of Heavy Blade at some point. That maybe then this will be good for inheritance, but at the time this is just not really all that great. So once again, they just give us the shaft when it comes to these passive skills on the free-to-play units. So his weapon now, let's go ahead and take a look at his weapon, which I actually think his weapon is a lot better than I originally thought when I saw the data mine. I slept on it and gave it some thought, and I was like, actually, this is not the worst. So Wind Tribe Club, what it does here is, at the start of turn, if your HP is over 25%, it grants, if unit initiates combat, unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack, and Null Panic to yourself for one turn. Both of those are start of turn bonuses, which are going to be very important the further down we read. Also, at the start of combat, if unit's HP is over 25%, grants attack and defense up X to unit during combat, where X is the number of bonus effects active on unit, and penalty effects active on foe, excluding stat bonuses and stat penalties times 2 plus 5. So, alright, in a complete bubble, let's say that none of these things are activated, you're still getting attack and defense up 5 no matter what, because 0 times 2 plus 5 would be 5. So this weapon always gives you at least attack and defense up 5, but it's actually giving you even more than that because we have 2 status effects being granted here. We're getting guaranteed follow-up and Null Panic, so that's already 2 counts towards this check here. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 5 would be 9. So just by itself, this weapon is giving him attack and defense up 9, which is way more than you would get from Arcane Downfall. We're going to take a look at this in just a sec as well. So there are definitely some good uses here. Also, another clutch thing about this weapon is it doesn't have -1 special trigger, while Arcane Downfall does. So if you wanted to run Gambit, for example, you would be able to do so much better with this weapon than you would with the Arcane weapon. So it's not like a total throwaway. This is actually not the worst weapon in the world. Getting penalty effects on the foe is also not that difficult, and even more start-of-turn bonus effects are very easy to be gaining. There is no cap whatsoever on here, so let's say you've got like 5 bonus effects on him. If you've got Asker on the team, that's already Resonant Blades and Resonant Shields. If you've got Caden Lindy, that's Null Follow-Up, and then also Nullify Terrain, and then you may have Catria or Cordelia for Triangle Attack and Warping. So there's just a plethora of start-of-turn bonuses you could be getting, and with no cap whatsoever here, you could turn into a massive stat ball for attack and defense. So this weapon is actually worthy of consideration. It's not like completely a dump. Alright, now by comparison, the Arcane Downfall has -1 special trigger, which can be better on certain builds. You're also getting all stats of 5, and then you prevent the enemies from making a follow-up attack, and you get the special acceleration. This is where this weapon starts to pull ahead by quite a bit. So when you combo -1 special trigger with the special acceleration, that's where you can start pulling off some really nice combos with certain specials to get real nice consistency there. So that is where this weapon succeeds. And then also, after you deal damage to a foe in combat, you get back 7 HP. So it's got sustain built in as well. So it's not like this weapon is completely better. It is better in some situations, and Wind Tribe Club is better in some situations. So it's pretty much just like pick what kind of build you're going for and then decide which weapon you want to use. Okay, now this one other comparison I want to make with Fuga, and that is to Cyril, who was the previous Grail unit that we got in the Grail shop. So we go down here, we take a look at Fuga's stats. He has a total BST basically of 193, 194 if you get the Super Boon. And Cyril also has the exact same BST. If you get the Super Boon on him, which is in defense, then he goes up to 194. And the really nice thing about Cyril is that he's a bow unit. He's an infantry bow unit, whereas Fuga is only an infantry axe unit. So if this matters to you for Arena, if you care about min-maxing and only building the very best options, I cannot recommend building Fuga. Unfortunately, he's just not optimal enough. Whereas Cyril is going to dominate in Arena modes being a range unit. You can give him a ton of range skills like Arcane Downfall, or not Arcane Downfall, Arcane Darkbow, or just keep his base weapon. I think his base weapon is really good too. Like Special Spiral 4, Times Pulse 4. When you start comboing skills like that on these range units, it just makes it so easy to walk through Arena. Whereas this guy, being melee type, he's at a little bit of a reach disadvantage against that with Cyril. So that would be my take on that. Now let's go ahead. Oh, I also wanted to do this. I wanted to do a quick stat comparison between Flame Mordecai and Fuga. Mordecai was the unit released last year, who was in the same release slot as this Fuga. They came out on the same seasonal at the same time. So Mordecai has a Super Boon on attack. We got 48 HP here. We got 47 from Fuga, so Mordecai has one more point. Mordecai has 61 attack with the Super Boon, and then Fuga's got 62 without even a boon included, which is nice. So he definitely beats Mordecai on attack there. Mordecai has 29 speed, where Fuga's got 30. And then Mordecai has 46 defense, and then Fuga's got 53. And then on res, it's a wash. Fuga's got 30, and then Mordecai's got 24. So statistically, you could see like Fuga being a little better than Mordecai. However, Mordecai has a really sick perf weapon where he's able to debuff the enemy's attack by, 20% of his defense? He debuffs their attack and defense. So like, when you have effects like that can really stack up and do a ton of debuffs on the enemy, this guy starts to look a lot better. Also, the perf weapon here allows him to score in the same bin as Fuga. Even though Fuga beats him on BST, Mordecai still scores the same amount. So if you've already built up Flame Mordecai, there's not really much need to build up Fuga. So there you guys go with that. We're also starting to get new beast skills too, like Counter Roar is really cool for Mordecai, and we're probably going to get some more level 4 beast skills as well to remove his transformation effect and give him better effects. So that's another comparison there. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some builds, though. That's what you guys are really here for. So we're going to take a look at this first build here for Fuga. This is a nuking type of build. So we've got Arcane Downfall for the -1 special trigger. We've got Attack and Defense Finish, Special Spiral 4, and then Times Pulse 4 with Attack and Defense Solo. Just to bomb the enemies with Ignis. Just run up and blow up whoever you attack. This is going to hit really, really hard. So you've got nothing to worry about here. The only thing is, how are you going to get him into Ignis range? You would want this to be pre-charged ideally. So examples would be to pair him up with like Duo Asker, get the Duo skill, and also get Open Domain. That's -2 right there. And then with Times Pulse, you're already pre-charged and ready to go. So that would be one option, but there's many ways to do it. You can also get ally support with Valoria, and like Hector's got Ostian Pulse, and so on and so forth. So just get a little creative with how you want to get your Ignis ready. Oh, also, I should mention that you could use this same build too with his base weapon as well. You could use the Wind Club if you want. And then instead of Ignis, you would just go for Bonfire, because you don't have the -1 special trigger, but then that would give you a ton of bonus attack and defense. I don't know if that's going to eclipse the damage from Ignis, though, over Bonfire. So that's why we're going with Downfall and Ignis instead of Wind Club and Bonfire. Okay, here's a weapon, or here's a build that's going to play up to his base weapon. So we're running a res build here, kind of. We're using Gambit 4. As I said, it works out pretty nice with Wind Club, since you can get the full 50% DR and the true 15 points of damage. So that combos nicely here. We've got Aether for the special because we got to run a 5-hit if we're using Gambit 4. And then we got a whole bunch of res boosting skills so that Distant Stance is able to let him distant counter and then gain a ton of res. And it should work out solid enough. He should be a fairly competent Omni tank. Not like the craziest. He's still got to watch out, of course, for units that, like the premier player phase units like T. Lysithea, Legendary Veronica, and so on. They're going to just, like, annihilate him. But for the most part, I mean, you should be able to get away with something like this. So that's why we can go ahead and run a build like this. And also, the amount of attack and defense he gains from this weapon here can really help him out. So he's gaining a ton of attack and defense, 15 points of true damage, so his attacks are really going to hit hard. And then we're getting a lot of res from the kit, because we got a lot of res boosting skills here. So that's the idea with that build. Alright, next up we have another distant counter build. This time we're going for Arcane Downfall to get the -1 special trigger. The idea here is that you can counterattack anybody with Null C4. So Legendary Hinoka, Legendary Veronica, staff units, etc., etc. You're going to be able to blow them up. You counterattack. They hit you once with Null C Disrupt 4. You get your 30% DR and then the acceleration from Downfall, giving you your ready bonfire, and then your next hit will just be a bonfire to the face. So you're most likely going to be able to kill whoever you hit. So this is like a solid spot check type of build here. It's like a spot tank for fire sweep units that are trying to just avoid being counter hit by the enemies. And then the final build we have here, this is more of an idea build. I'm not really too sure if this is like super effective or anything, but the idea would be use the Brave Sorin to turn this guy into a near saver, which will actually work out pretty well. We've got Downfall for the recovery and also for the -1 special trigger and acceleration. Combos very nicely with Pavis here. We've got Deflect Melee as well for some protection against Brave attack units like the Summer Female Shez and etc., etc. Lull attack and defense 4 to get the maximum amount of debuffs to attack and defense on the enemies. Canto Control is a pretty interesting choice for a unit like this, because also, if we're giving him assigned decoy from Sorin and he's able to save tank, you can pretty much wreck the enemies and stop them from even trying to approach you and attack with melee. So this would be pretty solid there. Also, there's not really too many other options for him in the C skill, other than like really good support options. So I felt Canto Control could be a pretty good choice there. And then Sturdy Stance, of course, inflicts guard and then gives you attack and defense. So that would be the idea. You're probably not going to eat magic melee types too well, like dragon types. So you want to be careful about that. But against the physical damaging melee opponents, you should be just fine. So those are just a couple of builds. Let's also go ahead and take a look at some idea skills, like skills that we didn't show here that he can run pretty effectively. So Atk Smoke would be one, and this would be really good with the Wind Club because it's giving you a other status effect that you can use to gain more stats. So Atk Smoke would inflict attack -7 on the target and foes in 2 spaces. Very good for baiting. Also gives you a blue bonus to defense and res, and then it also gives you a status effect that makes the enemies unable to follow-up attack. Combo's very good, like I said, with the Wind Club because that weapon gives you a guaranteed follow-up. So now you would just get Omni Breaker, and it's adding more to your stats there, an extra 2 points. So gotta bring a shout-out to Atk Smoke there. Panic Smoke 4 also in a similar boat where we're able to inflict panic on the target and foes in 2 spaces, and then foe penalty doubler. You could see this as actually being even better because we're doing a status debuff on the foes now, while also giving ourselves a status bonus. So that would be 4 points of stats added to our Wind Club right there. And then we're also getting a ton of debuffs on the enemies, and then foe penalty doubler would give us augmented debuffs on the enemies even further. So this is a solid option if you want to run his base weapon. Fire Flood boost is just always an option on these bait units. Inflicting guard and then getting attack and res up 7 and the additional HP, which could be nice if you want to run more support style of effects on him, such as Infantry Pulse, for example, which I think he's a solid user for. So just get some pulsing on your other allies that have less HP. And then finally, we've got some other skills here. We've got Seal Attack 4 if you want to get guard in the B slot instead of the A slot. Like if you wanted to run Attack and Defense Finish 4, and that would prevent you from running Sturdy Stance or Fire Flood Boost to get guard, you can go ahead and run Seal Attack and get guard here, and then also inflict a ton of debuffs to attack on the enemy. So this is solid as well. And then finally, more so of an arena choice, Attack and Defense Menace. Pretty easy to get on him because he comes with the prerequisite already. And then it just gives you Attack and Defense up 6 and inflicts Attack and Defense -6 on the nearest foe in 4 spaces. So it could be okay for arena. It's not like the craziest skill, but it's solid enough and you can get away with it. So there you guys go. Those are some builds for Fuga. Let me know in the comment section down below if you plan to build this guy. I would say, once again, I do not feel like he's worthwhile of an investment, but if he's one of your favorite characters, there's definitely some things you can pull off with him. It's not like he's a complete nobody, but again, like Cyril, for example, just scores the same, actually, and then... Actually, no, Cyril does outscore him because Cyril has a perf weapon, and then they've got the same BST. So yeah, that's actually even more insult to injury. And then Cyril being a ranged unit, he's just more competent for arena mode. So there you guys go with that. This is your boy Tacho signing out, and we've got some more videos coming up. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you guys again on the flip side.